I want to talk about Senator Thom Tillis, the Republican from North Carolina, who announced he's not running for re-election, split from President Trump on this bill. Now, I know every situation is unique, and your situation was not exactly the same as his, but you split from the president. You announced you weren't running for re-election at one point. You know, what do you think life is going to be like for Senator Thom Tillis now?
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing because this is not just a few months after he basically personally insured Kash Patel became the FBI director to, impress Trump. So I think somehow between that and this is when he made his decision not to run again. I think what's life for him now, I think the second after you announce it, it is like this massive burden lifted from your shoulders. And, the thing you always fear in politics is like, I'm going to make the announcement I'm not running again. And the next second, I'm going to regret it. And there's no going back. So I think he made the announcement. He clearly said in there that this was not a hard decision. I actually look forward and hope that he's going to now start, in essence, telling the truth about what's going on in the Senate and stuff like that. So I'm sure today he's feeling a big smile on his face, to be honest with you.
It talks to me more about what you would like to see from him now that he has announced he's not running for re-election.
Just the truth. I mean, look, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying that. But, when you're in politics, you're constantly negotiating with yourself, with your own set of morals, particularly of late, to say, okay, I guess I have to support this quote unquote big, beautiful bill, which, by the way, how the Democrats have not turned the name big, beautiful bill against the Republicans yet is beyond me. I mean, we used to be actually against big, beautiful bills, just to be clear. So I'd like to see him just, clearly stating things like we cannot be cutting taxes right now on the wealthiest with a $40 trillion debt, Medicare stuff or Medicaid, stuff like that. And then just telling the truth about what's going on in D.C., about how so many of these senators and Congress people are constantly scared of going against the president of the United States because they have to face a re-election back home, because they have to face a primary. And it would be nice to have more people talk about that so the American people understand.
I want to ask you some policy specifics here. Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri, he had been against many parts of this bill because of the cuts to Medicaid, but he changed his vote. He voted to advance it. He seems supportive of it now in general, and this is what he said on camera. Listen.
I mean, we can't be cutting health care for working people and for poor people in order to constantly give special tax treatment to corporations and other entities. And if we're going to be a working class party, we've got to protect working people. And I just, the Medicaid stuff in here, I think is bad. And I think we've delayed the worst of it.
He thinks it's bad, but they've delayed it, and he seems supportive of the bill. What do you say to that, Congressman?
This is the best. I'm so glad you put this up, because this is exactly what I'm talking about, what Thom Tillis needs to talk about. You always have this fake opposition to these things until the chips fall. There's always in the House of Representatives a moderate contingent that is just opposed to this because of SALT. And then there's a conservative contingent that, it raises the national debt. And yet somehow at the end, they always miraculously get it through with just enough people voting no that it passes. Same with the Senate. Josh Hawley spends a year with his trying to build up his blue collar credentials and say that he cares about the working class and he cares about Medicaid cuts, and even says it after he votes to advance the Medicaid cut bills. It's a whole game. He wants to maintain this idea of being a middle class fighter or a fighter for the working class. But of course he's not going to oppose President Trump. Of course he's going to do what they want. And that's exactly what you're seeing there. And that's I think the American people become so cynical about politics. And this is why it's stuff like this. It's not because people are conservative or liberal. It's because people say they're one thing and then always vote another way because, gosh, I can't go against the president or my party or whatever.
Former Congressman, I should say, Adam Kinzinger. Nice to see you this morning. Thank you very much. Okay.